بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu wa aunuhu wa fadluhu, and welcome to IQRA. Leadership is all about vision and change, birthing a people, a nation, a community into a desired destination. In Islam, we ascribe to the servant leadership type of leadership. Looking across this country with over 300 Zungus dotted across the length and breadth of Ghana, what it implies is that we have over 300 chiefs and magajias in our community. But the question is, do we have the requisite leadership with the proper vision and the right agenda to get us into our destination? Professor Adai of Gimpa simply puts it: leadership is cause and any other thing is effect. Today on IQRA, I have three strong gentlemen coming from Kumasi, Osekrum, to actually pursue this agenda, that of the youth and their quest for proper leadership in the Muslim community. And we'd like to thank you immensely for your comments, your contributions, your views on Facebook. I read it before. I read some of them before I came on air today. And believe me, awesome contributions as far as the proper leadership or the leadership crisis that we face in our community. What kind of leadership do you desire for yourself and for your community? And remember, a leader is one thing, and leadership is another thing. And I want to believe that we'll be able to do justice to this wonderful topic with this gentleman coming from a safe room. But before anything, let me take a break. I'll be back and we get this show running seriously hard. Stick around, we'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah and welcome to IQRA. In Islam, like I said earlier on, the servant leader type of leadership is what we ascribe to. Hence Islam says, I've forgotten what Islam says in a minute, but there's a saying, Ra'isul Qawmi Khadimuhum, the leader of a people is supposed to be their servant. And so in Islam, the leader actually is there to serve. And so when we see a leader trying to get himself served by the people, as Muslims, sometimes we get ourselves, baffled. But the question here is, within us, as a community of persons, what kind of leadership do we have right now? And looking at the generational gap between us, our fathers and our grandfathers, what kind of leadership do we aspire for our own selves in order for us to birth our own selves into the destination that we think is right? I have with me three wonderful gentlemen from Osekrum to do this discussion. I have Hon.Manaf, who is a youth activist. Hon.Manaf, salam alaikum and welcome to IQRA. Next to him is somebody who is familiar on this show, Baba Musah, another youth activist. Strong one indeed from Kumasi also. Baba Musah, you welcome on IQRA once again. And then I have Muhammad Bashir Habib. Of course, you've been in leadership, the former General Secretary of JIMS. Muhammad, you welcome to IQRA. Thank you. Now, this is what I do to get the show started. C, Nanako here. All right, gentlemen. Do we all accept that we have leadership crisis in our midst?
I think we do by the definition of leadership. Then you would get to understand that what is being practiced in our communities today is directly the opposite. Leadership for me is your ability to enable others to achieve purpose in the face of uncertainty. And that is exactly what is missing for far too long in our community. So by this, I strongly believe we have leadership crisis.
Do we have leadership crisis? I want us to...
Definitely we have a leadership crisis in our community, because when you take a look at our community and looking at the direction that we are heading towards, I mean, every person who lives in the community, I mean, will easily realize that we have a leadership crisis. And the kind of leadership that we have in our community actually is not helping to make sure that we have a very strong leadership that can address issues, that can point out a situation. So, no doubt we have a leadership crisis. So I think what makes this conversation very, very important is we are here to figure out what are the problems and what are the solutions.
Absolutely, absolutely. Gentlemen, you've been in JIMS. I think it is a place where young men or women would begin to practice more or less leadership, as they aspire to become leaders later in life. Do you agree that we have leadership crisis in our zone?
Essentially, I agree 100%. Because there's a saying that if you don't know where you are going, no road anywhere will fit you. And it appears that not even the crisis is, but the direction is not there. So for me, I don't see it as a crisis only. When you have competency and people who are capable, and it's very easy to give a direction. But we are in the situation that the competency itself is not there.
I don't think I agree with you as far as competence. We're looking around. I believe we have young men and women who are academically seriously enabled, some with seriously intimidating credentials, but given that they are allowed, so to say, to lead, given that they get the mandate to lead, they will lead us into wonderful heights. But I think it's something up there. We'll talk about it later. But in this case, when you look into the past, our grandfathers and our fathers, the local Zungu chief, the local Zungu Magaja, they had authority, they have control. These were men and women of integrity with principles, and their word was power and authority. What happened? Let me ask you that. What happened?
Well, in my candid opinion, I think there was a complete departure from the very principles that established and sustained the community for all these years. A complete departure from principles. The fact that people have decided to hide behind the convenience of rationalization, and so you have a section of leaders who are being fooled, excuse my language, by facades of situations that are happening. Again, we have a situation where people have difficulty at the moment doing what is right. We all agree that it is not always easy to do the right thing.
Absolutely.
And the real difference has been that the forefathers, those who are no more, happen to have gotten to the understanding that indeed doing the right thing will make you strong, build character, and it forces you to make decisions on the basis of your beliefs and not what other people
Absolutely.
think. Now, the leaders of today are afraid of standing alone, because if you want to stand for what you believe in, you would have to stand alone.
Absolutely.
So they are afraid of standing alone, and so it becomes very difficult for them to stand actually for what they believe in. So these are the real problems that we are saddled with. The issue of power over leadership should have been built around power with moving along with followership, because there is no leadership without followership. Today, there is a difficulty with leadership moving along with followership. And so you have leadership miles ahead of followers. So there is no telepathy between...
Or sometimes miles behind.
Well,
that is the case where the cart is put before the horse.
The vice versa.
In some cases, that is exactly what is happening.
So the vice versa as well. Now, leadership has also failed to submit itself to the principles of accountability, financially or otherwise. And so it makes followers also feel reluctant to ask for accountability in line of leadership. As it happens that way, the other problem it has also developed has had to do with the building of cabals and having a lawless community, because now people don't believe in the leadership anymore, and when that happens, you have crisis. And so that is exactly why I said earlier that indeed we have leadership crisis.
Absolutely.
This is what has actually led us into this crisis at the moment.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. But I from what you from your submissions, I think it has everything to do with ethics.
It's true.
Everything to do with ethics. I mean, you may have leadership with knowledge, with education, with all that stuff. But our forefathers and our grandfathers, the difference between them and today is ethics, and between the leadership and leaders who stood for what was right or what is right is only ethics. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the gentleman we claim to follow so much, taught us, have said everything boils down to ethics. That's the description he had in the Quran, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلْقٍ عَظِيمٍ. And certainly, as far as ethics, you are the peak of it. What is happening to us, Musah?
The problem.
Why can't we?
The problem is that
emulate the ethical examples?
Most of the leadership or the leaders that we have currently in our communities, they are not committed to the truth. Unlike the past leaders or the previous leaders that we have. And as a leader, you don't have to be well adjusted to the narrow sensibility of your followers. You have to instruct them, you have to guide them. This is what we are lacking in our community, especially in the leadership. Going back to Zongo, for instance, we have a lot of leaders, but they allow themselves to be misled by the followers. As a leader, you have to be the man of your word.
Putting the cart before
Exactly. The ethics is very, very essential, is very, very important. But unfortunately, we are seeing otherwise. Subhanallah, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam happens to be the example for all of us. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala urges us in the Quran, give us a very clear example. When if you doubt what I say, you can go back and read the autobiography of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He said a very example leadership on that. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, looking at it from a different angle too, he didn't like portray himself as well-known person or the most knowledgeable person. He take also advice from others.
Absolutely.
Take the example of the Battle of Badr, when Habib ibn al-Mundhir objected the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Classic example of leadership.
Very, very classic example. They didn't say anything. He said, Prophet Muhammad, did you believe that what we did is going to do good for us? He said, no, I just gave my thought. He said, no, this is wrong. Let us do this and do that and do that, and we're going to achieve what we want to. Prophet Muhammad didn't hesitate, and he followed Habib ibn al-Mundhir. And they also follow and give him maximum respect. So I think it's kind of, I don't know, I don't want to put it this way, but it's like this kind of misconnection between the leadership and the followers. Either the leadership allow itself to be misled by the followers, or the followers allow themselves to be misled by the leaders that we have. So at least I think we have to, in order to have a solution for this problem, I think we have to have a serious conversation, a serious discussion between the leaders and the followers. Or at times we can have overlap on that, and that's for me is a maturity. When you have, what did Umar say? Umar said that ماذا تصنعون بعمر إن ملت برأسي هكذا. And the people say that, in Arabic country, he said, what are we going to do, the followers, if I go like this?
If I should bend my head,
if I should bend
towards a particular direction,
exactly.
Uncomfortable.
And they say that we're going to make it straight with our knives, subhanAllah. This is the relationship that we want between the leaders.
Accountability like this.
Accountability, yes.
It's in all sense of the word. Once there is that thinking of accountability, you feel responsible in, that's another word, responsible enough, to always want to go back to the community and check, have the checks and balances working, whether you are doing the right thing or you're not doing the right thing. But like you're saying, there's a disconnect between the leadership or the leaders and the followers. As a young man coming up, you've been with Jimsa for some years, and you've had some education that will allow for you to see deep into the wrongs and the rights of leaders and leadership. For those of you who are younger, much younger, way younger, when you sit back and you take a look at what is going on, what is your thinking? How are you sorting it in your minds?
Well, I think sometimes you feel disappointed. And, we have several examples to share as to our engagement with our current leaders. My brother is talking about there's a gap between the followers and then the leadership. Honestly, I don't see it like that. Our leaders have allowed self-interest to understand and lack of sincerity to override the general interest of the Ummah. Period. And that is why I'm saying that I see no competency in our leadership, because I believe any leader who thinks about the followers and thinks about the well-being of people he's leading ought to be sincere to himself and the leadership he's been given. Let me give you one example.
Okay.
Just in my area, there was a particular madrasa that I was asked to be PTA chairman. You understand? And okay, I accepted. As a young man, I felt it was a great challenge for me, sitting with elderly persons and stuff. So as we moved, we decided to ask for how the money of the institution is being managed, then you started to create problem between us and
accountability.
The
Once again,
understand.
the word keeps coming up.
And anytime you want to find out what exactly the funds of the madrasa is being used for, it creates problem. People are only happy if you decide to go with them, not to ask them as to how they really manage even the position that they have been given. So I think that until we become sincere to ourselves, very bold enough to stand by ourselves, as my brother just said, we continue to be where we are.
I would like for us to get a little practical. If you just tuned in, you're watching IQRA live from Studio B. I'm in the house with three powerful young men from a circle discussing the Muslim youth and their expectations on leadership in the Muslim communities. But you have something to say in that direction. Yes.
Earlier on, you disagreed with his points about the competency.
That's right.
Well, for me, it wasn't the most appropriate word. But then in leadership, you call something agency, the capacity to act. It is a problem that is one of the longest standing difficulties we've had in the community. People who are entrusted with leadership positions lack the agency to act. They lack the capacity to face issues squarely as they should, and so on. And you see, to be a very good leader is to be someone who indeed believes in the fact that the common good is the greatest personal value.
Absolutely.
And that is what has been missing for far too long. The difficulty also has to do with psyche, which we are also trying to leave behind. We've been able to develop the thinking direction of the people to one of the most wrong destinations I have come across. And so the most unfortunate happiness that you would give serious misgivings about are the happenings you have in the community people see as normal, and would even want to have a problem with people who would want to take steps towards addressing some of these things. So agency, that is the capacity to also act in line of leadership, is very important and key. And that is an ingredient that we have failed in checking on people who would want to entrust leadership positions.
I thought we lived with these capabilities naturally in the past, so that when a young man is elected as a Sarkin Samari, for instance, all these qualities are seen in him naturally by nature, and before you even consult with that academic mumbo jumbo, he's right there. When a Magajia is pushed forward to lead, I mean, naturally she's got it before she's even there. But here's the situation where I think the psyche issue that you just raised, for me, it is the basic thing that I think we've left behind for so long, and everybody is thinking in a scattered direction. You know, I want to go left, you want to go right, somebody want to move in the middle. We don't have a common agenda that binds us together, and it is a problem. I thought you had something to say as far as his contributions.
Well, what I want to say is, when you go into our community, for instance, and everybody's talking about leadership, my fear is that, we are the young ones and we are the future leaders. How are we going to lead the community? So that's my fears. How are we going to lead the community? Everybody's talking about change. Everybody's talking about how bad our leadership is. But at the same time, I just want to tell the folks out there, as they said, I love you, it's applaudable, but it's not persuasive. I want to see it, I don't want to hear it. You understand? So where is the action? So we have to be more practical. I know most of the folks, before they become leaders in our community, they were talking like this. You understand? We want to bring this, we want to bring change. But as soon as they got there, everything just changed. They appear to be the worst that we have currently going on in our community. It's very, very sad and pathetic. So I think we have to use the capacity that we have, you understand, to bring all the functions in our community to make sure that we have a very, very strong discussion, you understand?
Getting practical. Lately, there was certain sad, occurrences in Kumasi as far as some young men in some particular neighborhoods in Kumasi. And all of us, Muslims, Christians, everybody across the nation, were caught dumbfounded. You know, if young men, you know, 15, 16, 18, 20, could act in this manner, and we have people who are leaders who cannot fix it, then there's a problem.
A big problem.
There's a problem.
A big problem. And one of our problems, Sheikh, is that, and I see it to be paradox, the community, the leadership in the community are afraid of some of the actions of the young ones in the community, which is taking place currently in our communities. But at the same time, they put a low priority into the suffering and the social misery of the upcoming ones, which is the same context out of which this, you can put it this way, if it's correct, vagabondism, you understand, flows. We have money in the community, but do we build a centers for them to train them? Do we have time to speak to them? Do we have a time, to hold their hands, show them the right path? The imams fail to do that. The politicians fail to do that. Everybody in the community is not willing to give his help. It's so sad and pathetic. Yet we call ourselves Muslims, and we, like, subhanAllah, I don't want to be more emotional about this issue, but it's very, very sad, really. SubhanAllah.
Don't be emotional. I'd like to go for a break, but before that, let me take a few comments here. People are enjoying this conversation. Okay. Sheikh, where are the Muslim MPs, DCEs, scholars? Why is our Zungu still deteriorating? Last week, the executive director of Center for Women and Children Association, Sewaka, a non-governmental a non-governmental organization, has expressed their unhappiness with the high rate of teenage pregnancy among girls in the Zungu communities. Why should these be happening to us? Sheikh Bagaya, we need to wake up. We have a lot of work to do. From Marwan Abdul Wahab, Sabo Zungu, Kumasi. Marwan, thank you for your message. Let me take another one coming from Abdul Basit Musah. All because they are all poor, so nobody listen to them. He thinks our leaders in Zungu are poor. Once we are poor, man, you don't have word. Salma Latif says, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Juma Mubarak to you and your guests. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help, guide, and protect us all. Thank you so much. We will come back and we'll read some more messages. Remember, this is IQRA coming to you from studio. We'll be in the house with gentlemen from Kumasi discussing Muslim youth and their expectations on leadership. Stick around, we'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to IQRA. Wonderful conversations with Hon.Manaf, Baba Musah, and Habib, all from Kumasi, looking at leadership. I have thousands and loads of messages coming in. Nasiru Wanda says, I like your show, and may Allah give you the strength and courage to do more. Thank you very much, Nasiru. And Muhammad Dawood Sadiq, all he could say is main issue. Yai. I understand that. Thank you very much, because we have serious problems as far as leadership. Let me come back to Habib here. My brother, there's another issue that has to do with trust, leadership and trust. For a leader to ably lead his people, he needs to be trusted. For you, as far as the issue of trust, how has it been like?
Well, I think trust is one of the very important things when it comes to leadership. Because when there's no trust, certainly it wouldn't be effective leadership. Because it is trust that will allow you to put things where they belong to. It is trust that will make you not to distinguish between two people. You treat them equally. So if there's no trust, the basis of leadership will be lost. And that is what we are lacking.
Do you have enough trust in the kind of leadership that you have today?
Certainly I'm not. Okay. To be honest with you, maybe
maybe in some.
Exactly, but not in those that I've had interaction with, because you can only build trust when you think about humanity and then the entire people you are leading. But if you think about yourself alone, where is the trust? You can call a leader and tells you the president has said they are planning to give me Land Rover, and that is the only thing he can communicate